Hello, everyone. Tonight I'm going to be interviewing Rene Ritchie about the new M1 Max. Did you know that there is new M1 Max and M1 Max? So let's get started. Hey, Rene.
Hey, how you doing?
You killed it with the dancing.
Oh, my third dance workout today, but it's appropriate, so that's fine.
True. True. Because you danced today. How many times? Three? So was it
Yeah, I
Alice?
did the Fitness Plus to get they had a special badge and award for the Apple Watch for International Dance Day.
Ah.
Then Luria's stream, where she's busy
Yes.
besmirching my reputation by saying I didn't dance like this on her stream, and I totally did. I don't hide these moves. You can't hide these moves. It'd be a disservice to humanity.
Maybe because.
And then now,
Yeah. Maybe because she doesn't have the Mac collection like me.
maybe, maybe, or she was busy, not paying
True.
attention while I was dancing,
New
or
Mac.
Callie was distracting her with
True.
coffee.
Or like Pocket Cali.
Pocket Cali. Yes, Pocket Cali is way better than Pocket Casts, way better than
Yes.
Pocket Cameras, way better than all the other pockets.
So let's get started. So
Yes, sir.
if you have a M, if you haven't gotten a M1, should you buy one?
Yes, a conditional yes. So the M1 is Apple's new ultra low power chipset for the Mac. And what I mean by that is it's essentially like an iPad Pro chip with some special sauce for the Mac, like Thunderbolt and virtualization and emulation. But it's really designed for maximum battery life, and maximum like low power. So it's in the MacBook Air, the low end MacBook Pro, the Mac Mini, the new resilvered Mac Mini, and now the brand new entry level iMac. So if that's what you want, if you want an ultra low power, entry level, really affordable Mac, yes. If you want higher end stuff, then oh, just you wait.
Because they haven't released one yet that is for like pros. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're like the nerds among us, the people who do want higher performance or who just need it for things like Final Cut Pro, Logic, higher, more tasks that require more compute power. We're hoping for like an M1X, which would have more performance cores, more GPU cores, more ports. Because like I was telling you before we came out of dance break, I've got Ethernet and my ATEM Mini Pro and power plugged in right now, and that's three ports. So I need at least like three. I want four. I want more ports, and I'm going to need to wait for a better chipset or a more powerful chipset to do that.
Yes, and Callie already has a great question. Can she return her MacBook Pro from last year? She wants to get an M1. And it's
Well, I
like
mean,
crap.
return is an interesting turn of phrase. It's like,
Yeah.
and will owe me money because I dropped like $270 on it, and it's crap. You're probably out of the return window. The return window depends on the local laws, but it's usually 14 days, 30 days. But Macs do tend to hold their resale value. Even Intel Macs, if you can sell it before an equivalent M series Mac comes out, you can still get you still get a lot of value out of it. And then even the trade-ins are pretty good. So you could put
Yes.
that towards an M1X.
And you could also trade it in for, I think, on the Apple website. So that could be good.
Yeah, they'll never give you as much as selling it
Yes.
yourself, but selling it yourself is more of a hassle than trading it in. So you got to weigh all your options.
So my next question is, are the M1 iMacs the same as the Mac Minis? Because people have been raving about the M1 Minis, and the iMacs are coming out tomorrow. What time are they coming out?
So the pre-orders start 5 p.m. Sorry, 5 a.m. Pacific time, 8 a.m. Eastern time. So it depends on your time zone whether you have to wake up real early or you get to sleep in at least a little bit. And
So
that's for
are
pre-orders. They'll
yeah.
come out like May, some point in May.
Oh, wow. So like, are they the same unit? So should you spend less, like $800 if you just need a couple storage and you need to upgrade with a monitor? This setup could be under $1,000. Would you rather do that or buy a iMac?
So the question is, for me at least, it's like, how big of a display nerd are you? Because Apple still makes some of the best displays in the business. They source LG panels, I think, right now, and you can buy an LG like non-Apple version, like the LG 5K Ultrafine is equivalent to the current 27-inch iMac, but they typically put it in like junky plastic, and they've had Wi-Fi interference issues, and they've had other issues like where the display rolls, and Apple does not tolerate any of that stuff. So if you want a really, really like the best quality panel, best quality LCD panel you can get, it's really cheap to get it as part of an iMac. You won't get anything as good, and you'd probably end up paying more if you got a separate display, unless you really want a separate display. So I guess what I'm saying is it's basically it's the Mac Mini, exactly the same chip. It's styling, it's super thin, and it has that display built in.
Yes. And Loria says, take it to the Genius Bar.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, I feel like this is what I feel like. Maybe she put on something that is a resource hug. Oh, maybe she's using too many Chrome tabs.
I actually uninstalled Chrome. I don't have a problem with Chrome, but Chrome uses something called the Keystone installer. It's Google's preferred method of updating, and they use it for Google Earth and a bunch of things. And it does it in the background, and it spins up. And I was having an issue where it was causing the Windows server to crash. So whenever it would try to update, it would just freeze everything. And so I uninstalled Chrome and I installed Brave, which is still the Chromium rendering engine. It's the same rendering engine Google uses, but it doesn't have the Keystone installer. So I'm way happier that way.
Okay. Cal says, I did nothing to it. I always say that, Sammy.
She feels like you're blaming her for Apple's problems.
But it could be Chrome, because I think I saw that once. She had like 50 Chrome tabs open.
Or she could have been hiding coffee crisps inside it, and that's just not good. That's just not good for the internal.
Or Loria's dance moves.
Oh, just don't dance on top of the Mac. Dance adjacent to it, around it, like a sword dance if you have to, but not on it. It's not built for that kind of pain. I'm not dissing Chrome, Lurie. I swear I'm not dissing Chrome. It's the installer that Google insists on using. It just has an adverse reaction with something in Mac OS. And since I can't fix Mac OS, I can switch from Google's version of Chromium to Brave's version of Chromium. Save myself the headache. Yes, Brave. There's a bunch of different browsers that all use the same Google rendering engine.
So is Safari better than Chrome?
It depends on how you define it. So if you don't have your power plug with you, if you're out and you want to maximize your battery life, especially on your laptop, you want to use Safari because Safari is super efficient. Safari uses Apple's WebKit rendering engine. It was forked from Conqueror KHTML from Linux a long time ago, but it's really super battery efficient and super privacy forward. So I always use that when I'm not on a power plug, when I'm on battery. Chrome is more compatible because Google is just so popular. Everybody codes for Chrome the way they used to code for Internet Explorer. So more websites work with it. Some websites will just pop up saying we don't support Safari, which is frustrating. And Chrome started off using Apple's WebKit engine, but then they forked it to Blink and now to Chromium. So it's very similar. It's just got Google's priorities all over it instead of Apple's priorities. And it depends what works best for you.
Okay. So when do you think the MacBook Air or MacBook M1 will be coming out, like 16-inch?
So for the 16-inch one, I'm hoping, they don't let me make the decisions at Apple, which I think is just totally unfair. But I'm hoping that we'll see those at WWDC because WWDC is Apple's software show. We'll get the new versions of iOS and iPadOS and macOS and watchOS and all that. But some years they also have hardware. Like last year or the year before last year, they showed off. Well, last year they announced the Apple Silicon Macs. The year before that, they debuted the new Mac Pro. They've also debuted the iMac Pro there, the HomePod, and they've done a bunch of iMacs and MacBook Pro announcements there. So I'm really hoping we'll get the next slice of Macs, all the M1X Macs, which is the higher end 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro, the Space Gray Pro Mac Mini, and the Pro 32-inch iMac, which will hopefully have black bezels the way that nature and Steve Jobs intended.
You think so?
And yes, Luria, you can have coffee crisps. I will send you all the coffee crisps, Luria, as long as you share with Callie.
True.
All the coffee crisps. All of them.
So then she could get Luria coffee when she's live.
We like our coffee crisp. Don't judge us.
True.
We'll get someone from England to smuggle in flaky bars, and then we'll smuggle coffee crisp and Kinder eggs into America. And then everyone will be happy.
Yes.
Pure candy nirvana.
So when do you think the M1 iMac, like the M1X, will be coming out?
I'm hoping also, like I know I'm putting a lot of things on WWDC. I'm piling on top of it all my hopes and all my prayers, but I'm really hoping we see that at WWDC as well. Apple does traditionally hold a Mac event in October. It was November last year because 2020 was just the Snyder cut of years. It was the worst years. Actually, the Snyder cut was better. Sorry, it was the Whedon cut of years, just the worst years. So that got delayed till November, but there's usually an event in October as well. And if we get the MacBook Pro, for example, in June, and we don't get the iMac, I'd expect that to come out October. Please, Apple.
Okay, great.
Does Callie really pronounce it coffee crisps? Or is that just her passion speaking?
Oh, that's Callie for sure.
You are totally live, Luria. I don't understand what they're talking about. You're live and in person.
In
But yes,
Portugal,
coffee
Luke
crisps are
says,
everything.
I don't like the iMac new colors.
The two tones are a lot. I like the bold colors, like the iPhone colors, the deeper reds and purples and blues. I'm not a fan of the pastels as much, the colors that they sort of put on the Pro iPhones. And they made them as duotone like the AirPods Max or like the iPhone with the cases. And I would have rather just had shockingly bright, bold colors like those old, they come in color iMacs from the Steve Jobs era. But I don't every time get what I want.
Those color iMacs were pretty good. And people were saying that all of the colors from the old Apple logo is in the new ones. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, on the backs, like the backs get the deep red, the deep purple, the blue is not really Apple logo, original Apple logo rainbow blue. It's sort of I forget the name of the color, but it's a little bit greener than that. Not cyan. I heard it and I totally out of my head, but there's a little bit of variation there. I like the orange. I like the purple. We'll see. I want to see them in real life though. That's the worst thing about these last couple of years. We don't get to see anything in real life first. Can't just go to the store. We just have all the web content, the videos and stuff to look at.
Yes, and I pulled out this. So something like this.
Oh, nice.
The old
Colored
Apple
logo. There it is.
Yes.
What is Renee's favorite iMac color from all things YouTube?
Ooh.
I tend not to have favorites because I like variety. But unfortunately, Apple doesn't let you rotate or change. It's not like you can go in and press a button and the iMac will change colors every time. So I'd probably go for like an orange or a purple. Maybe the orange because it would pop. I don't know if I could do yellow. That might be too much pop for me.
Yes, it's a little too pop.
Not pop like Newfoundland
Yeah.
Cola. I'm not talking about like fizzy beverages. I'm talking about just the brightness of the color.
Yes. Ooh. Has Apple ever had a yellow device?
They've had yellow iPhones. They don't currently have a yellow iPhone, but the previous generations they had a yellow iPhone, and the iPhone 5C they had a yellow version too with that weird hold. I don't know, paper pressed case of theirs. I don't mind yellow. It's just a lot for me. I think it looks great on a lot of things. I think it's just for me personally, it's too much.
I hate the purple iPhone.
Do you, Dr. Yulo, really? So I have, where is it? I have it here. I have the new one and the old one. Or are they both? No, it's the blue one. This is the new purple iPhone. This is the previous generation purple iPhone, which was way too lavender. This is way too light purple for me as well. The case is the proper purple to me. Like everything should be based on Samuel Jackson's lightsaber color from the Star Wars movies we don't speak of. And this is still too light a purple for me. And it's weird because the original code name for the iPhone was from the Purple Experience project. Apple used to use colors for their code names. And I think if you're going to honor the purple name on an iPhone, you've got to lean completely into that purple. Just like lean way into it.
Yes.
But the iMac is more purple.
Or purple.
What's the ugliest color iMac? All things YouTube again. I don't want to say it's ugly, but I think like the red one being pink on the front, for some reason, like pink is a different color. It gets its own name. You know, like there's light blue, light green, light purple, and I know there's all shades of those, but like people never say light red. And when you put red and pink together, it's just not the right look for me. Pink and black, like Bret Hart, that's awesome. Like give me all of that. But pink and red, I'm not sure about. Love the red though.
So
what do you think Apple intends to do with what could be viewed as an overpowered iPad Pro? Seems to be overkill given the limitations of iPad OS. So I know like everyone's answer is immediately put Mac OS on it, but I think that applies to like us very few nerd types because I mean, Apple could have put Mac OS on the iPad years ago. The developer machine that they sent out to everybody, the transition kit, that was using the A12Z processor from the last iPad Pro, and that ran Mac OS and all the Mac OS apps. And I think the new amount of RAM, 8 and 16 gigabytes of RAM is way better. But we already have Mac OS devices. I want them to make iPad OS so good that nobody ever asks about Mac OS again. That's my challenge to Apple is like, not just for nerds. I mean, it's a hugely mainstream machine. Let everybody for whom Mac OS is just unapproachable, intimidating, alienating, let them, not have to worry with all these computer science anachronisms, but make iPad OS so good that we can do like full podcasting workflows, full streaming workflows, all the stuff that we really want to do on the iPad.
Yes, and Peter Gregg said something. The Mac one is excellent for live streaming at 1080 60. Yes. I love the M1 Max, and the thing is, do you have the 16 gigabytes? Because I feel like the 16 gigabytes is the best.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there was a lot of confusion in the beginning where people were looking at unified memory and saying, 8 gigabytes is as good as 16 gigabytes, and not at all. I mean, it's still a hard limit. Like Apple optimizes really well. Even on Intel Macs, you have really high speed swap with the SSDs. You have really good memory compression, so you can fit a lot more into that memory. But you're still limited to that 8 gigabytes. My thing is always like, if you know what memory pressure is, you should probably go for 16 gigabytes. Because a lot of the early benchmarks, people are like, oh, look, the benchmarks don't change. And you're like, you're running single sequential synthetic benchmarks one after the other. Of course, nothing is changing. But if you're trying to do, if you're only doing one thing on it, and that one thing doesn't require tons and tons of memory, you'll be fine. Like if you're single tasking all the time, it's a dedicated machine, it literally only has one job, you'll be fine. But if you want to do like several things, especially if they're several heavier workloads, you're really going to want that 16 gigabytes.
Yes, and I'm streaming in 4K 60 frames on the 16 gigabyte, and it's fine.
Yeah.
So,
wait, who wants to do anything with the iPad? That's so mean. The iPad is now sitting in a corner and crying. It's just crying little iPad tears. It's super useful for people like, again, who like found like traditional computers alienating, like people who couldn't figure out how to use a mouse or file systems. They never knew where their files were stored. Just anyone who found those things too complicated. The iMac is like basically a window into apps and the web, and they can just sit there and finger paint with productivity or creativity and zero learning curve. People who are 4 years old can use it. 80 years old can use it. So I think like for the rest of us, that really is the computer for the rest of us. It's just not the computer for people who hang out on live streams.
The thing is, I was hearing Doc Rock was saying that I think that he was saying that eCam could go to the iPad.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to, like Ken and Glenn are legit like 9,000 IQ geniuses, totally not sus at all. But they would have to, and I don't know if they're doing any, because they're real hacky dudes. Like they know how to get into the subsystems. They've done
Yes.
tons of apps that just completely hack around everything Apple does at really low levels. And that kind of stuff would be hard. But if Ecamm is an AppKit app, they would have to translate it from AppKit, which is the frameworks on the Mac, to UIKit, which are the frameworks on the iPad. Apple's made Catalyst, which makes doing the reverse really easy, bringing UIKit apps to the Mac. They essentially ported UIKit to the Mac, but they've never brought AppKit or ProKit, which is what they use for Final Cut Pro and those things. They've never brought that to the iPad. So Ken and Glenn would have to basically write it. They have to take the app logic and especially the interface and just translate all of that to something that works on the iPad and is fun and easy to use on the iPad. They could totally do it. We're just all waiting.
Yes. Impartial Geek says you can really replace your MacBook with an iPad. Yes. The only thing is, you don't have Final Cut, Ecamm, and there's other things that you can't really do that you actually need in a computer. I feel like that.
There's like, yeah, well, for me, it's like I want, as I just said, I want more ports. Like I would have loved Apple to have put a second Thunderbolt. Like there are 2 Thunderbolt controllers on the M1. We know this because there's 2 Thunderbolt ports on the MacBook Air and MacBook Pro. So put like a port on each end for me, because I would love to plug into multiple things again without adding the complexity or the potential failure point of a hub. And then you're right, there's beyond even like having apps like Xcode and Ecamm and all of those things. There's still just workflows that don't work, like basic things like podcasting double enders. It's really hard to record multiple audio sources on a Mac, and you pick your workflow. There are just like Chrome doesn't run Chromium on the iPad. It runs WebKit. You can only run WebKit on the iPad, which means that Chrome extensions don't work in the same way, and websites don't render. There's just a bunch of things that for super nerdy people frustrates them enough that they're not going to move to an iPad still.
Yes.
Which does not mean you can make fun of it in the chat room. I'm just giving I'm just spelling out the limitations, but don't make it cry.
True.
Dr. Elo wants the keyboard. You can get the Magic Keyboard. It's so satisfyingly magnetic when it just goes like thwop onto the Magic Keyboard, and then you can pull it off like Captain America's shield and not throw it at somebody, but just pull it off and go use it as an iPad, and then thwop, put it back in and use it like a laptop.
MVS, should I get someone a 8 gig or 16 gig?
Yeah, so it's not a speed. This is again where I think all these benchmark channels, like if you're a Nantech, please do benchmarks. Just do benchmarks all day for me. If you're not a Nantech, please don't do benchmarks. There's very few people who do benchmarks well. And RAM is not about speed. Like you can think about it like lanes of traffic. You can have like a Ferrari on a 2-lane highway and it will go blisteringly fast. But if you put a truck stalled, like the Panama Canal, blocking the highway, that Ferrari is not going anywhere. But if you had 4 lanes, maybe it could go around it and then still go blisteringly fast. So it's really about multiple app workloads. And those are things benchmarks like don't really measure. And it's also, I would argue, quality of life improvements. Like the thing for me is, I don't want to sound like a cheesy movie trailer, but when I first started using it, it felt as responsive as an iPad. And all I heard in the back of my head was, imagine a world without beach balls. And then I just looked up and said, it would be beautiful. But like, that's what I'm living with. It's taking away all those little seconds of lost time, giving me, fragments of my life back. And if you are doing one workload, again, you're fine with 8 gigabytes. But if you start throwing multiple workloads and it starts paging and it starts using memory compression, or it starts running into hard RAM limits, I'm going to start losing those parts of my life again. And I'd rather just future-proof it and get the RAM at that point.
Yes, and we have a great question. I just found this. Should I buy the new iMac? What do you think?
If you want a big screen, like a really good high-quality 24-inch display, and you're fine within the compute and port limits of that iMac, because it comes with 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, or with the higher end model comes with 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports and 2 USB-C ports. So if you're fine with that, it's a great machine if that's what you want. If you want or need more, though, wait until Apple gives you more. What is the oldest Apple product you have? At the risk of asking the same question twice, please don't ban. Do you yote people for asking questions the way like Nick Nimmin yotes them for talking about toast?
Yes, she does.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, what's the oldest? I keep everything. I keep everything because I never know when I'm going to have to go back and test it. So I have like the original iPhone, of course, the original iPad, the original MacBook Air. I don't have anything I'd call vintage, like anything pre-modern era. So I don't have like what you have in your collection. I don't have any old PowerPC stuff, and I don't have any thing that's overly redundant. Like if it wasn't an important year for something, I probably didn't keep it. But I have every iPhone, every iPad, most of the modern Mac stuff. Too much sometimes. I don't have your storage capabilities.
So your oldest is like a MacBook Pro?
Probably no. I think my oldest is probably the original iPhone right now, 2007.
So I have an older machine than you.
I started giving my stuff away, especially like to family members, like when they would start to go to school and stuff. Like I gave away like a bunch of MacBook Airs and a bunch of like I gave away my white MacBook, uh, and then those family members did not take the level of care of those products that I did,
Yes.
and so R.I.P. those ancient
R.I.P.
Apple things.
Because some of these Apple things can still go up in value, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess it depends on what you mean value. Like they don't go up in value, like they're more like you can get more for them unless they're really, really special in some way, like really rare or have a unique condition about them. But they hold their value really well, and people will pay way more for them than they'll pay for any other, like the Dell that came out that year. They retain significant value compared to like the Dell or the HP or anything like that. And is Callie really? Is she conjugating yote like? I yeet, you yote, we yoted.
Yes.
Is that okay? Don't yeet the yote, or you will be yoted.
So funny, so funny.
Do not yeet or yote any coffee crisps. They are way too valuable.
So, what?
Would you ever buy a $20 game where you're a small fish eat bigger fish? That feels like a world-class troll. Like, I mean, the amount of money that people pay for games, if you enjoy it, like let people enjoy their lives. Life is way too stressful. Just if people find something that lets them have fun, let them have fun. More fun for everybody, please. Pay $40 for your fish eating game if it makes you happy.
Callie streamed that. That's the funny thing. And now people are trolling her. So
people stream everything. They stream Among Us, where they are so sus, like over and over again. So let her stream. Let her stream Among Us for fish. Whatever makes her happy.
So should you buy a M1 if you stream right now? If you don't have anything better, or if you have a overheated Mac and you can hear the noise and it's getting you mad, do you think you should buy it?
I would recommend it for like anybody who's looking for a new computer now, because what Apple's done with the M1, it's really a fundamental, it's like a sea change for the industry. Up until now, for desktop computers, we've been using these big x86 chips, which are super hot, super power hungry, and haven't really been increasing much in performance over the last few years. And they require like all this power. They generate all this fan noise. M1 on the MacBook Air is utterly silent. Doesn't even have a fan. It will ramp down after 20 minutes of continued use if you're doing a lot of high-end stuff, but utterly silent. The Mac Mini, it has a full thermal system, like a full fan system, but it is so quiet. It's hard to hear, especially over just like the din of regular everyday noise. And what you're getting, the value you're getting for that, with that sort of performance, that sort of profile, I don't think it's matched. Like you can get worse for less. You cannot get better for more right now, which is just silly to think about at this point. So yeah, I don't think you can get into streaming or any video editing, any creative profession right now, and get better for less than the M1.
And if you're a streamer, you're gonna kill me. But I have Chrome open, I have Photoshop open, I have Discord open, I have Ecamm Live open, I have Premiere and Final Cut open, and I'm streaming and there's no hiccups.
Well, Callie's a mod. She can yote you for that if that's a violation of the streamer code. I don't know. I haven't looked at the updated regulations yet, but if you are in fact in violation of the streamer's code by multitasking
Yes.
while streaming, then you will be yoted. I'm sorry. I have no control over these things.
And the mini is just a little hot, but it's not overheated. So sorry if I said some bad stuff because I've been streaming for a long time too, and that's not good.
Yeah, I mean the biggest loss for me with the M1 is that they don't get as hot as the Intel Macs, and I live
Yeah.
in frozen Canada, so like the MacBook was my warm blanket in the winter. I could just put the MacBook on my lap, stay toasty warm. I could put my coffee on the Mac Mini; it would stay hot for hours. Like it was fantastic. And now those things, for me at least, I mean, I'm not breaking the streamer's code like you are and doing multiple apps at once, but they're like room temperature for me, and I need to get actual blankets and coffee warmers. And Apple, why do you do this?
Ooh, Matt has a great question. Will Windows computers even be able to catch up?
I mean, anything is possible, and the world has changed. The silicon world has changed so often that I never want to say never. But the level of integration that Apple currently has, and the amount of years that they've been doing this, like they've been making their own chipsets since 2010, and they've been doing this level of integration for years already. It would be really hard. Like you can imagine some sort of Microsoft Qualcomm partnership, or Microsoft and Google, or Google, like Google could start making their own custom silicon, but it is an incredible investment. And Apple's advantage is, like, unlike Qualcomm, they don't have to make a profit on every chip. There's no P&L for the chipset. And that's usually a constraint because you have to be able to sell enough of a chipset to get your money back. Apple makes their money on the iPhones and Macs. As we saw with yesterday's financial results, they make more money than companies that have oligopoly control over fossil fuel resources, ungodly amounts of money. So they can just tell that chipset team, go as fast as you want to go, make a new chip every year. We don't care. So it will be really, really tough for anybody to be competitive, but I think that they'll be forced to do better at least.
So we figured out what yote is. Yote means ban.
So you're supposed to know this stuff. You're supposed to be teaching it to me. I'm clearly the boomer and you're the zoomer in this situation. I mean, and like as far as I know, yeet was like to throw something, and then YouTubers started using it for throwing people out of chat as yote. Or I think Jimmy was using it on Clubhouse to yote people from the stage. So now I just say it out of humor.
Yes.
But I don't know. That might be a bougie brokey thing to say. So I won't get shook by it. Callie, please teach me more millennial when you have time.
Yes. Apple AirTags, and yeah. Any thoughts about the AirTags?
Got a few of them here. The JG is not from John Gruber. Everyone got the JG. They're great. I mean, I find tiles. So, I mean, it's a bit of a rant, but I always think that, you never try to cut somebody else's line. You always try to grow your line. And Tile will complain and say that Apple came in and took their business. But there are giant companies out there like Google and Facebook and Apple, and they are giant drunken giants, and they just lumber all over the place. And there's clearly holes in their product lineup, and smaller companies try to make money by filling those gaps. But that, like, whether it's Google or Facebook or Apple, they're going to fill them themselves eventually. But with Apple specifically, what they won't do is cross-platform. So if I was running Tile, or if I was running Intel, like, I wouldn't be complaining about Apple. I would be targeting the things that Apple just refuses genetically to do. And that is, I would lean into people who have big gadget love, who have iPhones and Androids and PCs and Chromebooks and Windows, all of these things, and make sure I offer the best cross-platform solution. And then sure, people who have iPhones and iPhones only will get Tile or get AirTags. But everyone else, people whose kids have lower cost Android phones, or at work they have a Windows phone or whatever, I'd want them to get my product. So I always prefer like optimism to cynicism, which is why I often just think you need to innovate yourselves out of these problems, or at least make something of your own that you're not so dependent on other companies for. Now I might get yoted. That's not a popular opinion.
Yes, and Matt has a great question. What are the percentage of computers are Macs? 5%, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean it's single digit percentage, and I guess it depends how you measure and what you're measuring at any given time. But it will almost certainly, I think, grow with Apple Silicon. It's such a differentiator for them, and especially the halo effect from the iPhone. It became easy to have an iPhone and then get more Apple products. It'll probably be easier now when people are like it is so funny. Like people are like, when are we getting Apple Silicon in the iPad? And I'm like, you've had it in the iPad for 10 years. When am I getting M1 in the iPhone? You've got it. It's the A14. It's the same chip, but the M1 is such mind share right now that people really want it. I think that's going to slowly get Apple into the teenage years of their market share, at least at first. Luria asked about recipes. I have to talk about recipes at some point, apparently. I'm not sure what that's about. I do like cooking pasta, though. That's probably my favorite thing to cook. Pasta, chili, all the different recipes. What have I been making lately? Ragouts, Italian ragouts. My best friend's family was Italian, and I learned to cook from their parents. And they do not cotton to any of these Americanisms in their pasta. You got to use like almost no ingredients. They've got to be really good ingredients. So I use like San Marzano tomatoes, onions, very, very few things, and then just try to cook them as properly as possible. Otherwise, you get the back end of a sandal, the end you do not want to get of that sandal. That's how I've learned to cook. And then the rest, I watch way too many YouTube videos on it. 2020 was a long year, Sammy, and I didn't go to any restaurants. We were locked down, so I had to learn to cook. Or I had to relearn to cook.
You're gonna relearn to cook.
Yep. Cook all the things. And then you get bored, so you try to learn to cook other things.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I can't make sauce like Luria. She's got a huge
huge
sauce game. Common lure. You should know that. Oh, what you're supposed to know the regulations for streaming or the menu?
Yeah. I don't know.
There's too many things I'm getting in trouble about. I'm having trouble keeping track of the trouble that I'm in.
I just went to the bathroom for a second, and then you're talking about pineapple and pizza. That's pretty funny.
Is that a Canadian joke? Is that a Quebec joke?
No.
Hawaiian pizza coming from Quebec? That's almost like as bad as Jif GIF, whether people put pineapple on their pizza or not. I want to stay out of these wars.
Yes.
Yeah, I have no. Although I did when I was in Hong Kong, they gave me Canadian pizza, and it was pizza with Thousand Island dressing instead of tomato sauce. That's not how we eat pizza in Canada. I don't know who lied to them. I don't know who convinced them that this was something that should be eaten. But whoever you are, both respect and how dare you? How dare you?
Now that's pretty funny. Besmirched.
Yep. Yep. Cooking isn't hard, Zane Shaw, but I think people like you get used to, especially I was traveling all the time, and I was getting paid really well at my old job, and I didn't have time, so I traded convenience for money instead of time. But again, 2020, I barely left these walls in the last 13 months, so cooking became like the closest to alchemy that a human can accomplish, and that kept me sane. Well, at least saner. We'll see how I come out of all this.
And they were asking, like, why did I have to go to the bathroom? Because I was drinking this big bottle of water. Because they say you need to have water after the vaccine. So I was following the rules.
I slept for 22 hours after getting AstraZeneca. I came home, I felt fine that day. Next day, I could not get out of bed. I stayed in bed that entire day. I had like a headache and like cotton mouth, but I didn't move for 22 hours, which is odd for me because I barely sleep. And then the next day I felt like I'm going to translate across the border, Captain America. Felt fantastic. Like a super soldier serum.
The only thing that is hurting is my arm. That's it. But everything else is fine. They say that it's a little tense. And then I was worried that I couldn't dance for the countdown timers.
Well, I mean, you danced like a champ.
Yeah. But I
You
think
danced like a champ. I mean, they're gonna make us do it again soon.
true.
And Callie's gonna hold it against me for the rest of eternity.
Ooh, I don't know what Mac are you editing on?
Right now, I'm editing on the 16-inch MacBook Pro still because I used to use it because I travel. You know, I'd go to New York or I'd go to San Francisco or someplace else almost every week, and I just needed one environment. I'm not good at dealing with multiple things. Like I have an iMac, but I like having like one environment that I can just consistently use. Now I'm traveling from like my standing desk to the sofa to this table, but I've gotten used to editing on a laptop and it just keeps everything together. So I haven't moved on. Like I have an M1 Mac, but I use it for like, I don't know. I don't make fun of me, Larry. I use it for like iPad stuff. This doesn't have enough storage. I need all the storage on it. I need all the RAM. I need all the ports. So it's still an Intel Mac. I'm still Intel inside.
So you have a M1, but you use it just for iPad
Well,
apps?
I had to get it. I had to get it, and like I like it. It's just when I first got it, the codec, the 10-bit codec that I used wasn't native, so it would use Rosetta 2 for the codec, and then I wouldn't get the rendering times. Like the rendering times were the same, but I was hoping for better, and the screen was smaller. And with Final Cut, especially with 4K, I went on the biggest screen that I can have, and I know that means I should be using my iMac, but again, it's 2020. Get all the way off my back about that.
So
So
you
yeah, it's a bunch of
yeah.
bad decisions.
So this is the funny thing. You didn't bring your iMac to conventions and things
I
because
didn't do the MKBHD.
yeah,
No.
because didn't he bring uh his iMac Pro?
Yeah, he would have his iMac Pro in a Pelican case because he's doing 8K red raw files off a Monstro. I think it's a Monstro sensor, and that it takes time, and it would take him overnight to render when he was at events, and that was just not acceptable for him. So he started bringing the iMac Pro with him, and that would do it like in hours instead of overnight. So that was a huge workflow benefit. Again, because he's recording in like the highest quality format he possibly like. This is like you could archive the universe in the format that he's recording in, and it would look pristine, just ever so crispy. So he was willing to cart that around to get the performance he wanted, where everyone else is just like, some people have like The Verge has a whole video team, they don't
Yeah,
care, but like if you're a solo YouTuber, you got to use what you use.
all things YouTube. What computer do you use for streaming?
I use the same MacBook just because it's like I set it and forget it. Like I have everything from that camera, which is the camera I use for YouTube videos, and I have everything in one place. So I literally plug one cable in and I turn everything else off. Like I do, unlike Sammy, I do not have Final Cut or Photoshop running right now. I turn everything else off.